Hello and welcome to part 13 of my story, The Curse of Bloodlust. I hope you like it, and if you like it, leave a comment down below and recommend my YouTube channel to your friends. And then let's start right with the story. Let's go.
For the sins the fathers do, I taste the copper in the air and think that must be what justice feels like. I feel unstable, heartbeat like a cyclone in my chest. I feel unstable, wrong choices building up, no rest. Bad men aren't born, they are made by praises born in neglect. So tell me, what is madness if your saint is just a wreck? They taught me every boundary, good and evil, black and white. But colors melt like candle wax when the moon eats up the night. A stranger's face becomes a monster if they don't mirror back the norm. So we Time passes, and just as Rune fears she still hasn't figured out how to borrow the book, something small pokes her on the back. It turns out to be a miniaturized copy of the volume titled The Bestiary of Living Myths. As if the book had recognized that someone noticed it, it stops whatever it was doing and hovers motionless in the air for a few seconds before rising until it's roughly at Rune's eye level. Okay, so voice commands actually work, and this book seems curious. Now I'm just wondering whether there are will-o-wisps from Norse or Irish mythology. I think that was Irish mythology. I wonder what place will-o-wisps would have here if they do exist, and what their properties are. Hopefully these books have a search function, or the book can enlarge itself, because otherwise I can forget about reading it with anything less than a magnifying glass. These things are impossibly tiny. Rune thinks as she snatches the book from the air and tucks it, along with the other two, into her pocket. She turns to look for the reading nook or the tables where Lin should already be reading. Finding it proves far harder than she expected. The single floor of this library, because Alexandria is already larger than two normal stories of a human building, is at least 5 meters tall, and the stacks reach the ceiling. On top of that, the shelves seem to shift like a living labyrinth, making orientation and organization extremely difficult. What the hell? How am I supposed to find Lin again if I can't even find people in a library this huge? Rune asks herself as she scans the open ring-shaped space around the atrium. Although asking a staff member would be a reasonable idea, every librarian and member of the obscura order she sees seems to be in an urgent hurry. The way voices are muffled and footsteps sound like distant echoes, no matter how near or far, suggests this, apart from Rune's active spells, is another quirk of the room. The library itself enforces silence and a certain atmosphere. Great. I'm in a magical, gargantuan library with hundreds of levels, located in a separate space-time pocket. I can't just try to open any door or window. If it doesn't open, it might just be decorative. That would be bad if I accidentally found a hole in the pocket dimension where no hole should exist. If the wall isn't physical, it must be the boundary of this pocket world, and that would logically mean the barrier is indestructible. So, theoretically, there could be indestructible walls here. Okay, I'm drifting off. No matter how this pocket world is built, I need help finding my way. Maybe the reception desk where I waited by the big golden door will help. Rune thinks, realizing, the big golden door is a useless landmark since every large door here is golden. After a few seconds of focused searching, she notices that above each golden door, no matter how many there are, a name is written, presumably the destination it leads to. A small smile spreads across Rune's lips when she locates the door to the Intermagic's Academy. Just as she heads in that direction to find the reading corner, she's surprised to see a small boy, maybe 10 years old, trying to open one of the massive doors. He might be a gnome or a child. His presence in the library suggests he lacks the authority to be there alone. "Oh, sir, you can stop trying to get into doors you're not meant to enter. This library won't allow it. Even if the door were open, you still couldn't pass through," says a soft, sanded voice. The speaker is a woman with red-green hair that looks like it's beaded with algae. Her pale, bluish skin and visible gills mark her as a mythological being Rune hasn't encountered before.
From the way the fish-like woman carries herself and from her uniform, she seems to be a cross between a guardian and a soldier. Aside from her gills, odd skin tone, and unusual hair color, nothing else immediately marks her as one of the better-known mythic creatures. How interesting. So there are mythological races that live in the sea, or at least in water. I haven't seen those before. Maybe merfolk, or a sea people. The term, mermaid, is confusing. I should look that up. Rune thinks, watching the scene. Before Rune can admire the spectacle much longer, the fish woman takes the boy by the hand and leads him away. He looks a little frustrated, just like any child who's been pulled away from something fascinating. The woman whispers something to him in a language Rune's excellent ears can't quite pick up. Whether it's the strange nature of the pocket dimension or a different tongue altogether, the words are too indistinct to make out. More interestingly, the boy has little gills at the sides of his neck. He's not human, but part of the same people as the woman. Did you find what you were looking for? What book did you want again? I saw you talking with that scholar back there, Lin says, looking up from her book. It takes Rune a few seconds to locate Lin's voice and spot where the draconian has settled in the reading corner. Yeah, the scholar gave me a helpful tip. A very interesting book, but I feel like these volumes are a bit too small to read. Rune says, pulling the 3 palm-sized books from her pocket and placing them on the table. I really underestimated how new you are to the magical world. That's easy to explain. These are pocket editions, Lin replies, taking one of the little booklets. There are 2 simple ways to use these books. Either you speak your request aloud to the book, ask it to search for a topic, or you take a stylus, if you have one, and write in the search field on the first page, where the table of contents is. Then the book will look up the term. If nothing happens, you either misspelled it or the word simply doesn't exist in the book. Think of it like an ebook reader. The pages are basically touch responsive from the inside. To enlarge the text, or to unfold the book, just open it to the size you want. To make it smaller, fold it back. The width and weight are adjustable too, so you can tweak them manually. The book has effectively infinite pages, so whether you have it fully unfolded or not doesn't matter. The content is fully manipulable. Lin explains. Hearing the explanation, Rune can't help but try it. She opens the copy of the Bestiary of Living Myths, and something strange happens. She could swear she felt paper beneath her fingers, yet when the book opens it appears simply to have doubled in size, as if one sheet had been folded. Further folds, 2nd, 4th, 5th, don't change anything until it reaches a standard readable size and stops expanding. This is odd. I didn't expect books in this library to be magical at such a fundamental level. It's fascinating how the ink and the letters behave. They're alive, like the moving pictures in old stories. Except here it's the text. Wait, why can I read this perfectly if the book is supposedly 500 years old? The handwriting looks old, the paper slightly yellowed, yet the language reads as if it's modern. Why is the script ancient, but the words modern? Everything about this book is weird. Rune puzzles aloud, trying to identify the magic involved. After a few seconds of focusing on the magic flowing through the pages, Rune recognizes it, an auto-translation enchantment. The spell auto-translates the book's language into the dominant language of whoever opens it. Practically speaking, anyone opening the book will see it in their own tongue. Okay, that's insane. Books that can translate themselves in milliseconds. Definitely magic, Rune thinks. Skimming through the chapters, she sees the book as complex and packed with fascinating material. Not only the properties of creatures, but their habitats, diets, and populations at the time the book was written, plus the author's travelogue. Different magical nations have different currencies and borders, as if the same planet tells 2 independent histories, the human world without magic and the magical world with its own boundaries and peoples. But Rune is looking for specific information about will-o-wisps, whether they exist, and which legends are accurate. I'd like a mango juice and a vegetarian sandwich. Anything on it is fine, Lin says suddenly. Rune looks up to find, to her surprise, A goblin vendor with a trolley that resembles an airline service cart. Enchanted, of course, like everything else in the library. Okay, I didn't expect food vendors. Apparently goblins sell meals here too. Fine by me. Goblin prices are pretty reasonable even by human standards. You can pay with human currency or the mythic world's money. The goblins accept both. They even have a card reader. I can't believe my bank card works in a pocket dimension. This is nuts, but it's part of the charm. Rune thinks, amused. Magical food, infused enough that a vampire's stomach can digest it, costs about 5 times normal human food, but for vampires that's not a problem. The magic content in the meal matters only insofar as too little makes it indigestible. I'll have the same as you, Rune says, showing her teeth to make clear she wants the magical option. She'd rather avoid stomach trouble. Right away, the goblin chirps in the cheerful tone of a hospitality worker. But Rune's attention quickly drifts back to the book. Will-o-wisps are creatures half spiritual in origin and half physical. Contrary to widespread myths, their primary function is not to mislead people. Quite the opposite, will-o-wisps tend to lead you toward what you most desire or search for. The exact condition required to see a will-o-wisp remains a widespread riddle. Stories and myths scattered across different people suggest that near-death experiences are what enable someone to perceive them. The only commonality among those who can see will-o-wisps is that they have often had near-death experiences or lead very adventurous lives. So it seems linked to those two things. Still, will-o-wisps remain a mystery even after years of research. Entry for will-o-wisps in the bestiary of living myths. Reading that, Rune can't help feeling her thirst for knowledge grow even stronger. She wants to learn everything there is about the nature of will-o-wisps. But beyond the note that they are half spiritual and half physical, the passage doesn't offer much immediately practical information. Okay, that's interesting, but what does half spiritual and half physical actually mean? Spiritual means non-physical, I think, so how can that coexist with being physical? Rune wonders as one hand searches the book's search function. These books all seem to have one, while her other hand reaches for the magical sandwich. The term just means the sandwich is made from ingredients that aren't ordinary flour and cheese. Each component would be harmful for most humans, but for magical beings it's at least more nourishing. As Rune's thoughts drift toward the nature of her food and whether she can even digest it, she takes a bite, and the flavors explode in her mouth like tiny fireworks. It's almost too intense. Rune recoils and her attention snaps from the book to the bread. That heightened sense of taste doesn't remain hidden long. She realizes anew that her transformation into a true vampire is not yet complete. Not only have her sight and hearing become much sharper, but her sense of taste has been amplified as well. Okay, my senses are way too sharp right now. I can dampen light and sound with magic, but I don't know how to reduce taste. Rune thinks, aware that this is a problem. Blood has a flavor, too, and an intensified sense of taste makes the risk of slipping into a bloodlust greater. The chance seems small, but it's still there. If I think this through, I should be careful about what I put in my mouth for now. I should at least take the day off and not do anything that could needlessly endanger me. Rune decides as she weighs the pros and cons of upgrading from full blood to true blood. Something happened. You look really deep in thought. Lin says. It's nothing important. Just something I thought of. I think I should skip my next lessons. I'm not really fit. It's not terrible, but maybe I should stay in the library and read. It's calm here and less exhausting than the intermagic's halls. Rune answers casually. From the corner of her eye Rune sees mixed feelings in Lin's expression. Concern, worry, and something warm. That Lin doesn't smell strongly of intense emotion makes the feelings harder to read. Okay, if that's what you want, that's fine with me, but my break's almost over and I'll have to go. Lin says as she packs her books and stands. Have a good rest of the school day. Rune replies. Rune finds the relaxed structure of intermagics pleasantly convenient. Attendance here isn't the rigid, punitive system of normal schools where being late brings immediate consequences. At Intermagics you come if you want. If you don't, you either catch up later or already have enough skill to skip the lesson. Ultimately, what matters here is competence and knowledge. How you obtain it, through the school or elsewhere, doesn't really matter. Alright, since I apparently can't eat normal food right now and I'll go restless unless I do something, I'll look up what half physical, half spiritual actually means and maybe read about Japanese mythology too. Rune thinks, taking the pen provided at the reading table by the Library of Alexandria. When she watches her letters appear in the search field, her heart ticks faster for a second. The black ink dissolves, then a heartbeat later the ink on the page drains away and reforms into new letters and images. Kinda trippy, like a drug trip, watching the ink shift and flow. Rune amuses herself as the search results appear. The state, half spiritual, half corporeal, refers to creatures that are neither fully physical nor purely spiritual. They can assume gaseous or air-like forms for limited periods. Take the dream eaters. Unlike dust eaters, dream eaters are responsible for easing unpleasant dreams and diminishing traumatic memories. They're half spirit, half physical. Most half spirit, half physical beings cannot remain long in either form and are thus trapped between two worlds. Will-o-wisps are an exception. Will-o-wisps and echo birds are fabled creatures that aren't fully real yet exert limited influence on reality. Will-o-wisps often appear flame-like but are not warm and cannot truly burn. Echo birds are spiritual creatures that influence the physical world only to a limited extent. They can produce sounds and change their dimensions, existing in two-dimensional or three-dimensional forms, but they are harmless. The book. Faced with that, Rune feels small for a second. I wonder what other mythological creatures there are. Echo birds, dream eaters, that's two I never even heard of. Rune thinks, realizing how much of the field she still has to study. The book is dense and complex. It catalogs numerous mythologies and the creatures that arise from them, including behavior and territories. Okay, this is all fascinating, but Japanese mythology alone has so many creatures it's complicated. It's not just werewolves, vampires, dragons, dwarves, gnomes, trolls, orcs, elves, unicorns. There are creatures from other myth systems too. Holy shit, there are even different kinds of elves. Not only different species of mythical beasts, but subtypes within families, like different kinds of giants and various elf lineages. Rune thinks, overwhelmed and amused by the flood of information. Sitting in the rainbow flame light and flipping page after page of the bestiary of living myths, Rune realizes she can't memorize everything even with enhanced mental capacity. Okay, being a vampire doesn't make me a super genius. I have a rough picture of the magical world, but learning every species, trait, and territory would take years. This 500-year-old book won't be enough. Rune admits. Alright, I'll check the other books. Rune magic and ritual basics. Are they as interesting? She asks herself. The first of the additional volumes is about runes and ritual basics. The fundamentals aren't terribly hard to grasp, but building a ritual matrix and altering it is genuinely complex. A ritual doesn't only depend on how you perform it but on what resources you have. Essentially, rituals operate as exchanges. Okay, if I've understood correctly, any ritual creates an effect and requires a price. The greater the price, more energy or greater importance, the bigger the effect. You could theoretically sacrifice people or use blood offerings. That's squarely in the realm of blood magic and black magic, and it's viewed very poorly. In essence, blood magic is offering something for an effect. You can use it for good, by offering pain or part of yourself. With discipline, someone could use blood magic to become temporarily as strong as a vampire, burning life force or lifespan to gain power. Magic disciplines like rune magic, blood magic, and curses blend into each other. You can perform a curse with a ritual and enhance it with blood as a catalyst. But these are only high-level ideas. Without the exact words, symbols, or procedures, the knowledge is nearly useless. Hearing how blood magic works is not the same as performing it. Without practice you could injure yourself. Innate magics are different. They prevent the user from being directly harmed while executing them. Innate magics are almost like superpowers in this world. They don't simply get overridden by learned magic. Innate magics can even grow stronger, as my Ouroboros innate has suggested when copying others' powers. Thankfully I can detect other people's innate magics. Rune thinks. Wait, if I think about it, I can't simply destroy my innate magic Ouroboros with a standard ritual. What if I could sacrifice an innate magic via an oath? I must be extremely careful with wording. Rune closes her eyes and focuses inward, on the innate magic that has always lain inside her. For a moment she senses only two innate magics. One protects her mind from telepaths or mental intrusion, and the other is the innate link to Dracula Silver Star, the blood-red star that represents her inborn power, not something she got from Dracula. Okay, I thought I had an innate that handles ultrasound and infrasound, so I could speak in those frequencies. I haven't used it yet. If I can speak in ultrasound, will a vow spoken there still activate? Time to test it. Rune decides and returns from her inner focus. The experiment needs a cost. Oaths need a penalty if broken. I swear, in the name of the god Elm, ruler of dreams and balance, that I will not rise from this bench for the next 30 minutes. If I do, I want my left little finger torn off. Rune says, without moving her lips or giving any sign that she spoke. Even the obscure librarians nearby notice the sudden ultrasonic words. No audible magic accompanies them, and the syllables are unintelligible even to those who can hear ultrasound. To Rune's surprise, the vow doesn't even need someone to hear it. Please be careful and don't dirty the floor or the books, admonishes a grumpy, green-skinned woman, surprisingly large for a goblin, who had been reading a few tables over and now looks toward the place where Rune's little finger had been. Okay, saying, torn off, maybe wasn't a great choice, given that my whole finger is gone. Whatever, I can regenerate it, but someone will see me heal it, right here. Rune thinks, briefly examining her hand. What interests Rune more is that it hurts less than it should. That could mean her ascent to a higher vampire form is giving her greater resilience, or one of the many still active innate magics within her is at work. Next test on the list. Rune says, pulling out a small crystal and conjuring a flame to seal the wound. Since healers here can regrow lost limbs, she can likely pass the injury off to a healer, and that dragonkin student nearby could plausibly mend a finger. Am I relying too much on Lin to patch me up later? I've never tried healing a scar myself, but with all the innate magics I've copied, I should manage. I'm basically a cockroach now. I regenerate unless killed outright, but regeneration weakens me. An enemy could beat me until I'm out of magic and blood, and then I'd finally die. My self-healing isn't as overpowered as I'd like. Rune thinks, briefly picturing what would happen if an attack pulverized her head. Back to experiments. I can confirm, a magical oath invoking the god Elm doesn't require an external witness. I can swear alone. That means I can speak in ultrasound or infrasound as long as I keep speaking. Speech is required. The next test, can I sacrifice an innate magic? I must be careful to specify exactly which innate magic to sacrifice so I don't accidentally lose my true core power. Logically it shouldn't backfire if I'm precise, but the risk is high. I'm not sure I want to take that risk, Rune thinks. But I could do it so that I use infra and ultrasound to cast a curse or a spell that I have to speak aloud. In theory it should be enough that someone has to hear it when I say it. So I think that if I'm sure that what I said is exactly what I want to say, if I myself perceive what I want to say, speaking it should be enough. That should work for a spell. Practically that could mean I could speak a curse or a complex formula, a mixture of curses or several spells at once, in ultrasound. I doubt it will be easy to learn to speak both in infrasound and ultrasound at the same time, even if the innate magic I somehow have allows me to speak with several voices simultaneously. It would be incredibly useful in theory to learn, but I don't know if I have the focus and the time to practice it. As for oaths, theoretically it would help if I could add something in the ultrasonic range so the other person doesn't have to hear it. But that might be going too far. I could try that with the demon Okitna. Rune thinks as her gaze drifts away from her little reading nook and the book open in front of her. The Library of Alexandria truly feels like a thoroughly magical place. Even though it's a pocket dimension, Rune wonders why she's already seen 3 different pocket dimensions since the beginning of her time in the magical world, when those are supposed to be extremely rare. The possibility that it's just coincidence seems unlikely but not impossible. After all, she attends the largest magic school in the world, Intermagix, which itself exists in a pocket dimension. Maybe the buses that bring students here route through such places somehow. Together with the Library of Alexandria, this could actually be only a remarkable string of coincidences. Given that I'm now inside the Library of Alexandria, the first, oldest, and maybe largest library in this world, maybe this isn't a coincidence in the usual sense, but rather a series of events that happen to place me in pocket dimensions more often than normal. If there are only a handful worldwide, I've been in 3 so far, that's not actually that extraordinary. Rune thinks as her eyes fall on a small door through which an astonishing number of people pass. Oddly, the style and color of the door shift with each person who passes through. This shifting style isn't unique to that one door. A whole row of doors along the corridor flicker and change their appearance seemingly at random whenever someone goes through. Just as Rune thinks she won't be able to make sense of it, one door opens and reveals a city with an Asian architectural flavor. When it closes and another opens, the skyline of London is visible behind it. Okay, she'd thought the books were trippy, but the doors are on another level. What the hell is wrong with them? Why does the image behind them flicker constantly? Rune asks herself as she focuses on the corridor. Every person passing through seems to share one thing in common: robes of different colors, embroidered with golden runes. The robes look silk-like and glossy, and the whole display gives Rune an involuntary impression of a video game. This is a bit like those games with rarity tiers. Do wizards here come in different rarity tiers or what? Rune muses, amused. Excuse me, mister, what's up with the doors back there? Why can't they decide which style they want, which colors or whatever? Could you explain that if you have a minute? Rune asks a passing apprentice of the Obscura Order. Sorry, I don't know exactly where those portals led. I'm not a specialist in spatial magic. I can only say it's probably a portal system that opens temporary portals between doors. But I don't work in that department. I'm just an apprentice. So I can't tell you what it all means back there. I personally haven't gone through them, so I can't help. The friendly blonde apprentice shrugs and moves on, indirectly apologizing that he can't be of help. Okay, so there are apprentices and something above them. There must be masters too. Rune realizes she has no clear idea what the professional hierarchy for mages looks like. She suspects that the goal of most magical careers isn't simply money. With magic, living comfortably in the mundane world doesn't seem that hard. Most mages appear to have more than enough money to live decently. Still, currency matters here. She can pay goblins with mundane money, after all. So money has a different significance in this world. Even if a mage can't make much human money without specialized talent, having magic of any kind tends to make life easier. If you can control plants, you can grow your own food, and so on. Rune thinks this through as she wonders about the purpose of apprenticeship and master systems. Seated in her comfortable reading nook, cushioned with silk pillows, Rune is suddenly pulled out of her thoughts by something at the edge of her perception. What was that? Did I just imagine it? I thought I heard someone say something about the revelation of magic, she thinks. As she strains to listen, the Library of Alexandria seems to compress everyone's perception to the same level. Rune considers switching off her noise-canceling charm. She slowly disables just the portion of the spell that dampens sound, the part that keeps bright light, intense smells, and loud noises from overwhelming her. The idea that the library standardizes perception proves false when Rune sees that her own magic was actually isolating her remarkably well. Okay, but it can't be only that, because when I focused on the book it was definitely quieter than before. Is it the library? Is it my magic? No, wait, it's the library. Is there something really strange about the Library of Alexandria? Rune thinks as she focuses again on the book and, despite her heightened vampire senses, perceives nothing but its pages, as if the library were unnaturally aiding her concentration. Wow, this is trippy. Why does my whole world reduce to the book and everything else vanish? This is definitely not just my magic. Rune thinks, then lets her attention drift back to the conversations around her. She hears it again. Hey, did you hear? In Colorado, USA, a group of far-right Christians supposedly tried to hunt a vampire. Unfortunately, they attacked a full vampire instead of a half vampire. It's almost a repeat of the vampire wars. Says a female voice that sounds not entirely human. A rattle in the tone betrays the speaker's non-human nature. Rune stands and looks around, curious for the voice's source, and recognizes, as she suspected, two gargoyles talking. One of the gargoyles appears to have feminine contours, but given the slow shape-shifting ability every gargoyle possesses and the fact that they're made of living stone, gender really isn't relevant for gargoyles. They can change their appearance over long periods, much like vampires can change skin tone. If I think about it, the ability to change form seems stronger in gargoyles than any fixed skin color the stone might have, if you can even call stone a skin color. What do I actually know about gargoyles? I know they're magical creatures made of living stone, actually of solid rock. Even their internal organs are stone. They're alive, and yet somehow not. Biologically they'd be statues, but magically they're living beings. It's confusing. Rune thinks as her senses focus on the two gargoyles' conversation. Yeah, I've definitely heard about all that. The bigger problem is that it's not just a repeat of the vampire wars. It's not simply vampire hunters versus vampires. The whole thing's gotten completely out of hand. It's not that there's widespread destruction. It's more a bunch of lunatics all claiming that it's Judgment Day, and a bunch of other people who are panicking and some who are oddly joyful. The reaction is like people think the world is ending or at least radically changing, which, in some ways, is true. But I don't think ordinary people pose a real threat to the magical underworld. When they united against the vampire community, they still weren't the Arcanum. They won't bring the whole magical world down. Still, calling this the Age of Revelation seems apartment, says one gargoyle, his stone skin pitch black and a kind of inner fire seeming to glow through every word. It clicks for Rune as she walks a few steps closer and looks at the second gargoyle, and she remembers why gargoyles felt familiar. As a subbranch of dragons, gargoyles can breathe fire, though that's not their primary racial trait. Their main gifts are flight and the slow restructuring of their bodies. If I recall correctly, they have shape-shifting abilities. They can change their body by taking stones from the environment and integrating them into their form. That's how they can regenerate, but they don't have the same instant transformation power people think. They can't change their basic appearance or coloration at will. They also have the status of an essentially immortal species. Immortality, as far as I understand it, just means you don't age, or at least no gargoyle has ever died of old age. Vampires also carry that immortality status. From full vampire onward you become effectively ageless, your lifespan so long it's almost unmeasurable in ordinary terms. As a true vampire I should have an even longer lifespan than a full vampire. Essentially, immortality usually means aging slows to the point of being almost unnoticeable, not that you can't be killed. There are many long-lived species, dragons, giants, angels. Elemental spirits are more constructs of pure magic. Energy itself doesn't age, of course, but there are groups like gargoyles and vampires that barely age or live incredibly long lives. If I think about it, I'm practically immune to aging magic. A curse that forces aging would probably have little effect on me given my enormous lifespan. And I'm still by definition a newborn vampire, only turned a few months ago. Rune thinks as she rounds the corner of the stacks and can now see both gargoyles clearly. Hey, you two, looks like you're talking about something important. Mind if I ask a few questions? I'm not really up to speed on the global situation, especially in the magical world. Rune says. Sure, why not? Sit with us. Replies the gargoyle whose inner flame glows reddish. For a second the red fire seems to pulse through cracks in the stone skin, Then it dies back and the glow thins to the rhythm of a heartbeat. Sitting down beside them, Rune briefly wonders how her human self would have reacted. It would have been terrifying. Now it only feels remarkable. What exactly do you want to know about what we were discussing, Miss Vampire? Oh, pardon, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Trontrak. Yes, odd name. And my twin sister here is Firetooth, a fairly normal name in our culture. So, what's your name, Vampire? Trontrak says. My name's Rune. I overheard you talking about the revelation of magic and the Age of Revelation. How do people even decide to call things by these eras? Who assigns them? I've heard of multiple eras, but who named them? Rune asks as she settles on the surprisingly generous wooden bench. Ah, yes, the eras. To clarify, in case you missed it, the first era was the Age of Creation. In that indefinite time the rules of the cosmos were established. Gods probably created the universe. The rules of magic and nature were set. Then came the second era, the Age of Chaos. Gods and demons from many worlds or realities fought each other and nightmares beyond imagining filled the skies. The Age of Chaos and the wars of the gods ended when the Age of Wonders, of magic and peace, began. Trontrak says, but is interrupted by the other gargoyle, her inner flame purple and her appearance decidedly feminine. Excuse my brother, he's a bit odd and can't stop talking about history. Ask him one thing and he'll speak without pause. Firetooth grumbles in a rough voice, as if stones grind in her throat. No harm done, repetition helps. Rune replies. Trontrak continues, after the Age of Wonders, that was the third era, if I haven't already said so, came the Age of Mysteries. The Age of Mysteries began with the burning of Babylon and the decline of magical knowledge. During that era humans gained the upper hand and for a while dominated early on, hunting magical beings. Some of those beings retreated. Why Babylon burned or why humans dominated for a time is unclear, but the result was that the Age of Mysteries separated magic from the human world. Now we stand on the brink of the Age of Revelation, where magic is being revealed again and interacting openly with humans. Some say old legends and gods will soon awaken. I suspect time magic plays a role, though frankly I think tales of time magic are nonsense. Even if divination exists, time magic isn't as potent as rumors claim. If time itself could be bent, we'd see signs over the last 13,000 years, and we don't. So I'm skeptical. Trontrak finishes his friendly overview. What does the revelation of magic actually mean right now? What's happening out there? I might have missed a lot. Rune asks. The twins exchange brief looks but ultimately summarize. The big changes are driven by the internet and the web's branching. The more remote places get connected, the more likely innate magics will be exposed. It's happening in pockets already. Some countries know innate magics exist and call them superpowers, which isn't far off. Innate magics probably inspired the whole superhero concept. They've always existed. Who's to say humanity didn't make all those superhero stories from real phenomena? Firetooth says. But why has the revelation of magic happened so suddenly? I mean, a few weeks or months ago I hadn't noticed any of this. Rune says, a faint confusion reflecting on her face. Strictly speaking, it wasn't truly sudden. It's been a creeping process. But the Arcanum, they poured a lot of resources into suppressing reports of dragon sightings and other mythical encounters lately. I believe they even hired people to spread disinformation, to drown real sightings in a flood of superstition and nonsense. Still, sooner or later such attempts fail, because people pass things on mouth to mouth as well as digitally. More and more people now have real evidence of the supernatural. So someone decided recently to scale back the effort to keep magic secret and redirect those resources elsewhere. I can't say exactly who ordered that, but I suspect either the Arcane Order or the Obscura Order. The two often cooperate. One focuses more on the magical side, the other on the non-magical. They complement each other. Firetooth explains. That all sounds really interesting. I have a few other ideas that aren't exactly on topic. Forgive me if I sound impulsive. Rune warns with a mischievous grin. Talking to a gargoyle feels extraordinary even in a world of wonders and mysteries. That's fine, ask away. None of us are exactly pressed for time. Firetooth says. Okay, I'm curious what you think of the apprentice master system the Arcanum uses, or whether you use a different system to pass on knowledge. Vampires and gargoyles are effectively immortal, so time isn't the same issue for us as for short-lived races. If you can live centuries or millennia, does the traditional apprentice model even make sense? Or is traveling to gather knowledge more effective for obtaining forbidden lore or forgotten grimoires? Rune asks, her eyes sparkling with excitement and curiosity. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by forbidden knowledge, but generally immortals like us have the freedom to combine methods. We can attend a magic school, then travel, then take on an apprentice or find a master. We can use all the systems and benefits together. Firetooth replies as her brother returns to the book he was reading. What do you think of silent, focus-free magic? Rune asks, happy to have found someone to talk to. That's rare, I've never seen it. I'm only 25 years old. Firetooth answers. I thought you'd be older, but hey, I guess that's not the first time we've been surprised. Also, I don't know how to phrase this delicately. You're a living statue, so age is tricky to guess, Miss Firetooth. Rune says calmly as the scent of ash and smoke drifts by. Firetooth seems slightly annoyed at being addressed that way, but she ignores it and returns to the conversation. So what method of magic do you use? Firetooth asks. I use spoken spells and gestures because they're simpler than focus items. A focus can be stolen, gestures can't. As long as I can speak, I can cast. Of course, if you're gagged you can't speak. Then you can't cast by voice alone. That's a problem. That's why focus items are useful as a fallback. The best ones hide easily in everyday objects. Practically, magical focus items that can be concealed work best. Rune answers, laying out the pros and cons of the different casting methods. Right, both methods have their benefits. But as for the third method, intent-based magic without tools or words, there's almost no counter. You can't stop someone from thinking. I wish I could cast silently and without foci. That would be a huge advantage. I've heard Intermagix has a very talented practitioner who can cast several spells silently in sequence, especially fire and some earth magic. Have you heard of that? Firetooth asks, studying the vampire before her. Long white silver hair, blood-red eyes, a look not unheard of among vampires, but exotic all the same.
And that's it for today. This was part 13 of the story, The Curse of Bloodlust. I hope you really liked it. And if you liked it, leave a like and comment down below. If you want to see the next part of the story, you can click on the right side of the screen. There you can see the entire playlist. On the left side of the screen is the newest video I uploaded. And that's it for today. Until next time, take care and goodbye.